Salutes to everybody in the building, man. Salutes to everybody in the building, man. Salutes to everybody in the building, man. Salute. Hood 100 in the building was goody. Retro 813 was goody. Gold by the ounce was good. Smack Burger was good. Bot, what's going on? What's going on? Bot, what's going on? Here we go. Let me get everything situated, man. Wanted to do a quick little live today. Chop it up with some of y'all in the building. Hope y'all enjoying yourselves on the hump day. No Diddy. And we go from there. Apparently, we got another interview from 2Js in Complex. We've been following the story for a little bit, you know, and I saw it. I wanted to do it. No Diddy. Again, gotta watch out. Today's Diddy day, so we just gotta watch out. But also dealing with Complex, they tend to copyright content like that. So this is definitely going to be probably a non-monetized live stream, which, I mean, I'm fine with it. It is what it is because, like I said, you can't really react to sneaker shopping videos or any of that when it comes to Complex content. So it just is what it is at the end of the day. We're fine with that, though. DR702 was good, man. Salutes to everybody in the building, man. Hit the like button on your way in. Hit the like button on your way in. Hit the like button on your way in. Now, before we even get into that, though, we're gonna.
You're legendary for the parties.
Diddy was found not guilty on the racketeering alongside with the human trafficking charges, but found guilty on the traveling of prostitution, which now they are trying to get him, you know, on a bond hearing until sentencing, which may lead up to a couple of months. And they sent letters in by 1 o'clock, and I think they're having an actual bond hearing at 5 p.m. today. So that's an hour from now, and I kind of want to see that. We might actually react to that live, so we can get everything in motion. We could probably get that done, because let's see, it's about to be 4 o'clock right now, and I think this thing is 35 minutes. So yeah, we'll have enough time. Let's watch this though. If you 1090 Jake put out a video on everything, let's just hear it himself, man.
You throw a great party.
I'm a legend, baby, for a whole bunch of things.
Yes.
You know.
Huh?
Yeah. Women, beautiful women, of course. Beautiful men for the ladies, of course. We need alcohols.
Right.
Alcohols.
Right.
You need locks on the doors.
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
It's a little kinky, but
yeah.
This is all breaking in. We're dealing with rolling thunder out here. So I'm seeing Diddy has been found guilty on 2 counts.
He's a 55-year-old man sitting in a courtroom at 500 Pearl Street. Inside.
Okay, so count 1. So yesterday, if you guys don't know, and like I said, a lot of this may be like you guys have already known about this or a little bit behind on this. Majority of y'all, I feel like y'all know about this, but yesterday, basically, they had got a verdict for all counts except for the racketeering, which they had thought was going to lead to a mistrial. But then eventually they got that verdict down at around like 10 o'clock in the morning. So racketeering, conspiracy, they ended up getting the sex trafficking, which he ended up not guilty for, transportation and to engage in prostitution, which I think was maybe like the whole entire like transportation of the escorts, I'm guessing. Like that's what I thought this was, but he was found not guilty, then the sex trafficking not guilty, and then count 5. So counts 3 and 5 are what he was found guilty on.
Inside a Lower Manhattan courthouse, waiting to see if he will die in prison.
Damn.
Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EOS. It's 1090 Jake, man. I'm rocking with y'all, y'all rocking with me. And for this video, we're gonna be speaking on Diddy being found guilty, but not all the way. July 2nd, 2025, at 9:52 in the morning, the jury in one of hip-hop's biggest cases reached a verdict on all counts regarding whether or not Diddy did it. The hip-hop mogul would receive a small victory in court days prior when the prosecutors dropped his attempted kidnapping and arson charge. But Diddy still faced 5 counts: racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. If found guilty of the most serious charges, he could face life in federal prison. But Diddy just did the damn impossible. For the racketeering,
which they mean by that is, this is a Fed case, right? Thug definitely won. Thug won his case, but that was a GBI case. When you look at even the case with 6ix9ine that was federal, he didn't win that, technically speaking. Like, he did snitch and got off, but he didn't win it. Even the one with Bobby Smurda, right? Like, even that one, they didn't. They were found guilty. So you guys know, I think, was it 85% or 90% Fed cases they usually win.
Conspiracy, Diddy was found not guilty. For 2 counts of sex trafficking, Diddy was found not guilty. And for 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, Diddy was found guilty. For those that don't understand how seemingly impossible this was, Diddy damn near just beat the feds. While he isn't 100% innocent, Diddy could have just received up to a life sentence in federal prison and now only faces up to 10 years. Meaning it isn't even guaranteed he gets anywhere close to that.
Me personally, and if you're watching the playback and you want me to stop pausing and stop talking, right? You're watching the wrong channel, watching the wrong video. Go to 1090Jake's video and watch it yourself all the way through. This is a reaction commentary. We talk, we pause, we stop, we do all that. This is not where we're going to just play the video out and just sit here and let it roll. We're going to actually break it down. If you want to watch it uninterrupted without me ruining it, 1090Jake got his video up right now for you guys and girls to check out. But with that said, also, he faces up to 10 years. Me personally, like, I think he might get like 5 or something, right? But with the 5, I think he's gonna do like get 5 years, with one of those years being served behind bars and the other 4 being 10 years for each guilty count, so potentially 20 years max. Is that how it works? I know how it can be. Like, they say you can get found guilty, but those charges will run concurrently or consecutively. Like, I know they do all those type of things, Big Joe. What I'm personally thinking, right? Me personally, and like I said, I don't know. Maybe it is 20 years max if they do it, but they usually say concurrently or whatever, where it's together. 10 years max. They give them 5 because it's up to. They give them 5. 1 year must be behind, must be sentenced in federal prison, while the remaining 4 is probation. He's been in there for like a year, so time served, 4 years probation. I feel like it's going to be something weird like that, in my humble opinion. That's just me. That's what I'm saying, Retro 813. I mean, they had somewhat of evidence, but not enough evidence for a RICO, Quint. So yeah, I think he's getting out. Like, I don't think he's going to even do time like that. I don't feel like it. And then even then, if you got to do Fed time, they said Fed time is the easiest time. Somebody had mentioned before, like, he going to get done dirty in prison, but the Feds are different than like actual prison. The Fed is, from what I hear, the Feds is could be pretty relaxing for some people out there.
Walk with 3 years, 5 years, federal supervision.
Exactly, dub.
Which is basically probation. We don't know.
Here it goes.
5 years, we're close to that. Diddy could walk with 3 years, 5 years, federal supervision, which is basically probation. We don't know which way this case will go, but we know this isn't the end for Diddy. And if anything, this is a prime example of how powerful people still remain powerful in a federal courtroom. Diddy's lawyers were able to convince the jury that he was innocent of the most serious charges, while prosecutors knew they had to drop 2 other serious charges in the hopes that one of them would stick. In the end, we've all learned that Diddy is by far one of the freakiest men in hip-hop. But at the same time, Diddy wasn't found guilty of the many things he was accused of in the lawsuit by his former employee, when it comes to drugging drinks, forcing people into things they didn't want to do, unlawfully recording freaky activity. It sounds more so the ones that have stood against Diddy did so for a Cassie payout, which we found out during the trial was worth $20 million. Now, Diddy was not found guilty of trafficking Cassie or another ex-girlfriend of his, but he was found guilty of transporting them for prostitution.
So this is what they're putting out right now. Like, this is the conditions that Diddy and his team are trying to get. You know, this is what they're willing to do. $1 million bond co-signed by Sean Combs, his mother, his sister, and the mother of his oldest daughter. Mr. Combs' travel will be restricted to the South District of Florida, Central District of California, and the Southern District of New York to attend court and meet with his counsel, as well as the Eastern District of New York or the District of New Jersey, only to the extent that his travels to and from New York involves an airport in those districts. So basically, for work and going to meet with his counsel. Mr. Combs' passport is surrendered to pretrial services, drug testing as ordered by pretrial services, and all the other standard conditions of the pretrial supervision. So that's what he's willing to do, and that's what they sent the letter over. And then this is Cassie's lawyer. We write as counsel for Cassandra Ventura to respectfully request that the court deny Mr. Combs to be released pending his sentencing on his 2 convictions under pursuant to the Bail Reform Act. Detention is mandatory post-conviction on these charges, and Ms. Ventura believes that Mr. Combs is likely to pose a danger to the victims who testified in this case, including herself, as well as to the community. We thank the court for his time and its attention on this matter. It's like, I get that, but my brain's instantly thinking, like, and I said this, I was talking to Zaya, like, I was like, why would Diddy, who just got off, you know, who was about to serve life in prison, do anything that would put him right back in? Like I said before, the last person that's going to be touched on this planet is Cassie, at least right now. Cassie and anybody who was a witness, because if a witness goes missing or Cassie goes missing, the first person they looking at is Diddy. So I don't see where anything is going to happen to her or anything of that matter, because the minute she gone, bro, he going right back in. She got $50 million. What more does she want? Did she got 50? I know she got 20 from Diddy, and then I know they were mentioning that she got some money from the hotel as well. But yeah, in feds you don't qualify for 85% for time served if it's 30. Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot about that, Dub. So correct me if I'm wrong, Dub. In the feds, you gotta do whatever they give you. You gotta do the whole time, right? You can't do 85% or half. Like if they sentence you to 5 years, you can't get out 2 years with good behavior, right? You gotta do the full 5, right? Is that what it is? Salute, Fat Boy Kicks in the building, man. Salute. Our first member is in the building, guys. If you want to become a member to the Two Wild family, please do so. It's very easy, man. You can click this link. Click this link and become a member to the channel, man. I greatly appreciate it. So wait, you gotta do 85%. Okay, so if you got 10 years, you gotta do 8.5. You had no less than that. That's the less you can do. If it's more than 1 year, you can do 85% good time. So wait, Dub, if he gets 5 years, what is the best he can do? He can get 85% of that knocked off, is what you're saying? If it's more than 1 year, you can do 85%. So if it's under a year, then you gotta, so if you get 11 months, you gotta do the full 11 months. But if it goes over a year, you can get it knocked down 85%, is what you're saying? That's why you're saying they're gonna give him a year and a day, so that way he's correct. This get me, write it all out. My bad. I'm being a little. Oh, you got it. Okay, you got to do the 85%. Type it all out, Dub, because I know it's like a delay. I know it's a delay. Tell me 11 months, 85%, 1 year. You could do less than it. Yeah, you could do less. I need you to type it out. I'm being a little slow. Type it out. If he has 5 years, I know. See, you gotta do 85%. You gotta do 85. The thing is I'm asking you which one. If you do more than a year, you have to do 85%. Type that out to me. Type it out fully. Say if you do more than a year, you gotta do 85%. Or if you do more than a year, you can get more. Yeah, I'm confusing myself right now. Type it out for me, bro, please.
And even that is a toss-up because the line between spoiling a grown woman and hooking up with her becomes blurred, apparently, if you fly them out or fly with them. Now, this is all breaking news, so Diddy's sentencing date has not been set at the time of me recording this video, but it will come, and I will be making an update for y'all. Now, this is major. This is actually bad for a lot of people because when Diddy got indicted, everyone assumed he was done. You're hearing RICO, you're hearing trafficking. These are big things. These are like mafia words. You know what I mean? This is like 20 to life type vocabulary right here, right? So everybody immediately turned against Diddy. Everyone that was at the parties, everyone that was hanging out with him, the rappers, the models, the actors, the actresses, everybody went away. And now I guarantee you everybody's stomach is turning. Because this is the thing, for however long Diddy's been locked up, he's gonna get time served for that.
Yeah.
Then he'll get his sentence. And if his sentence with the time served is reduced to a point that he can go to a halfway house on federal supervision, etc., Diddy will basically be home. You know what I mean? And all the people that turn their back on him are now gonna be enemies of his. And I'm not saying enemies in the sense that he's gonna, try to kidnap them or blow their cars up, but the simple fact that if Diddy returns home to a position of power in hip hop and in the industry, he's gonna be able to do a whole lot of shit to fuck people up. He'll be able to pull strings on who gets invited here, who gets to perform there, who's getting signed, who's getting fired. This is a big thing. We're talking about, what, a billionaire? Like, Diddy ain't no small fucking person. This is a hip hop icon, a mogul, somebody that's been there from the beginning with the biggest artists, involved in the craziest shit, dated the most beautiful women, through the craziest parties, has dirt on every fucking body.
You ask Jay if I'm rocking with Diddy, bro, like, nah, I ain't. I mean, I don't hate Diddy. The case itself is very, 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 it's hard to like really know what side is right or wrong here, right? It's obviously Diddy got an issue. Like he's a sexual deviant. The physical abuse and domestic violence is definitely another issue of his as well that is there, which I don't agree with whatsoever. Now, with Cassie, do I feel like the way I feel with the Cassie situation is like, from what we heard, at some point she did enjoy doing it because she thought it was her way getting close to him. It's just like, it goes back to what I said, and even I think they said it on Law and Crime. Like, if Cassie did 10 freak-offs and was all up for it and was mad at Diddy because of something she didn't get, and then did the 11th freak-off and didn't want to do it, but he like told her, you better do it or I'm a da-da-da-da, does that make that freak-off now the human trafficking and then everything else human? Like, it's like, or the situation where like she did like it, but then he did something to her which made her look back on all those things and now regret those things, and then she's like, oh, he was forcing me to do it. Like, it's just like the thing is, those things are so they're like fluid, right? They're so fluid that it's hard to tell. It's hard for me to know, and then like with force, like, is it physical force or is it force of fear on blackmail? Is blackmail, is that, saying he's gonna release the tape, so then she did it, is that then go into the human trafficking? It's just so many like little things that are just not clear. And those are the things that I'm just unsure about, like that's the stuff that's like kind of like I'm unsure about. And it's not even for me to defend it, but it's what I'm saying. Me being unsure is where it's like, if I was a juror, I don't know if I could have made him guilty because it's got to be from an unreasonable doubt. You feel me?
Body. And now it's like, yeah, I'm back. You know, he comes home and whatever dirt the feds didn't have, he got. And it's like, I'm back. Yeah. Oh, y'all were laughing at me on Instagram. Y'all were tweeting about me on Twitter. All right, bet. Here's this video. Here's that picture. Oh, you don't remember you were here? Like, Diddy still has a lot of power over a lot of people. And obviously when we heard all the accusations, nobody's gonna side with somebody that has accusations like that. You know what I mean? But after he's been found guilty, what he got found guilty of, I'm still like confused about, right? Transporting for prostitution. If you fly a girl,
that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking that's him buying the escort. Like he paid the escort must live in like Texas, and then he paid the escort in Texas, and then the escort flies to New York to do the freak off. I guess that's the transportation of prostitution.
From LA to Miami.
I think though is what somebody said either in here or someone we saw. I think it was in the chat of Zaya's chat, but the feds needed some sort of win here because technically speaking, right? Y'all let me know. They lost on the big charges, but they still won the case, right? Didn't the feds technically still win, I guess? Because they got 1 W. Didn't they? They technically still can say they won this case.
And you take her to the Louis store, you take her to Dior, you take her to whatever restaurant you want to go to down there. You're spending money on her, you know? What if you give her cash? You just flat out give her cash, or you sell her. And you end up hooking up with her. Is that transportation for prostitution? Like, I don't know. I don't see Diddy pulling up with the fur, the mink coat, and the fucking, you know, like on some pimp shit. Like, yeah, here's Cassie. I don't know. I mean, we found out a lot of things about Cassie in the trial. Her husband, a lot of women are praising him for accepting her. If I was him, I don't think I'd be here.
What's good, Martinez?
Like, the shit that he had to sit there and listen to. But I guess if your girl's getting $20 million and you get to enjoy that, but it couldn't be me. But like I said, sentencing will come, and we'll find out the totality of this trial. You know, it's a possibility he gets hit with like 8 years, he gets hit with 7 years, and yeah, that's damaging. Especially due to the fact that he's what, like 55? You know, like, the thing is, prison time gets a lot more serious the older you get, because you don't have many years to just waste, you know, and you only have so many resources inside of prison to maintain health. But I just have a feeling that it's not gonna be bad, and I could be wrong. I'll stand on that if I am, but I have a feeling that after the major victory he got today, yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna be surprised, and I think Diddy's gonna come home a lot sooner than people think. But let me know y'all's thoughts and comments in the comment section. It's 1090Jake. I'm rocking with y'all, and y'all rocking with me. Until next time.
So yeah, 5 o'clock, we'll get some more information on that, man. We'll see and hear about that. Please, guys, before we get into this, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that like button for your boy. Also, guys, I'm going to put this in here, man. I would greatly appreciate it. We're gonna probably get hit with a copyright claim from Complex for reacting to this video right here. So any super chats during this live stream will deeply help that, okay? Because I kind of didn't want to react to it, but it's only right since we've been following this. And any super chats, whether $1.99, $99, whatever, man, will definitely help out this stream because it's gonna happen. And the playback, hopefully I can watch the playback. They don't block it. I don't know how Complex goes, but hit that like button too, man. It's free. Hit that like button.
I think for all time's sake, you're gonna have to say to you resell sneakers.
What's up, everyone? I'm Matt Welty. Wait, it's not that show.
Speaking of Complex, Matt Welty's by himself right here, but Can we get some settings? Thank you. And Matt Welty, we had Brennan Dunn just left Complex to go for StockX. So I wonder how that's going to be with no Brennan Dunn, Matt Welty, and Joe LaPuma are like the only last two left over here. No audio? What do you mean no audio? You can't hear me? Y'all hear me? Testing.
No, I'm here with.
I see audio. Turn that volume up. Baby Too Wild is screaming his head off. All right, let's get it.
I think for all time's sake, you're gonna have to say, do you resell sneakers?
What's up, everyone? I'm Matt
he went
Welty.
to StockX.
It's not that show. I'm here with JC Lopez.
By the way, if you're watching this once again on the playback and you don't want this to be interrupted or stopped pausing and talking, let the video play. You're watching the wrong video. Go to Complex. They got the full video there where you can play it uninterrupted and don't have to listen to me talk. We're going to break this video down. We're going to commentate. We're going to talk about it. So, yeah, you're on the wrong page. Pause, type in Complex. Go check out this video if you want to watch it uninterrupted.
AKA 2JsKicks.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
Complex Con last year when we were walking back to Resorts, I think is when I last saw
ran
you.
into you then. It's been
break this video down.
6-7 years since we did full size run. A lot's changed in your life since then.
Same.
Yeah.
Could be said about you.
Yeah, for sure. You're in the news lately.
Yeah, it's like another day, another allegation, right? Like it's you know, it's really wild. I never thought it would come to this, you know.
Before we start, comparing kids.
This is funny, man. You know, like this was like a real thing. I was like dipping Slim Jims and Monsters for breakfast, but yeah, I needed this, man, especially after 2 flight cancellations and an hour of sleep all the way from Vegas.
Yeah. How's everything? I know obviously you have a lot going on, but just how are you in general?
How am I in general?
From what I'm hearing is that 2Js had reached out to Complex to do this too, by the way. It's not like Complex reached out to him. Not saying that it's a difference, but apparently 2Js is going around trying to get his story out more and more.
I think really I'm as good as I'm gonna be with everything going on, right? Like I want to try to get to a solution and correct and address and go to the counter and pay what I gotta pay and keep it moving at this point more than anything.
How's your mental state doing through everything?
I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you that every moment of every day would be a great one. Like I'm going through trying to create the resolution, right? And there's not as many people as you think in that camp and trying to create the solutions. It's just lawyers and a handful of friends that are willing to pick up the phone with stuff like this.
So you start Urban Necessities. That goes on. It goes. I don't want to say it goes viral, but kind of does. It goes worldwide, right? You know, you end up start in Vegas. You open a store in New York City for a bit. That was through American Eagle, right? Yeah. So you've been dealing with other people investing in your business for quite some time. Yeah,
I mean, American Eagle was a great opportunity. I learned a lot. I learned how not to do stuff. Learned what things.
There's a big opportunity that, you know, we're going to be hearing a lot of stuff that we already heard from the previous ones, but let's just wait and see. You feel me? And we got the Bell hearing soon. I think at 4 or 5 o'clock with Sean Diddy. So we'll be hearing about that as well. So I guess we're gonna hold out and we're gonna watch that we're probably gonna hold out till about 5 o'clock.
Things I needed to get better on, and another partnership that is going in a different direction. But the brand, what is it, almost 11 years now?
Yeah.
It became a pillar for a while of the community, and I think we were kind of like the poster boys for what resale looks like for a minute.
And I feel like it's interesting though, because with that American Eagle thing early on, it was people always had something to say about your business deals around your store.
Yeah. I mean, I still, if I had the opportunity to do that deal again, I would, right? Because it was never about winning over, like, existing. It was always about, like, creating awareness to a demo that, like, is into it but doesn't really understand it, right?
And, you have all this drama now with Shoe Surgeon and his partners, Dallas and Bimbo. Actually, I didn't know him, and I don't want to say anything, like, negative too much, but I saw a picture of him online in his suit, and I was like, if anybody's going to screw you out of your resale business, this is the guy. Am I tripping by saying that?
I think, at the end of the day, if you don't put the parameters to protect yourself, it could be anybody, right?
Yeah.
But sure, guy in a suit, I guess, is the stereotypical guy that comes, I guess.
Do you think that they tried to intentionally kind of screw you out of your business?
Great question. Only one that they could probably answer. I have my thoughts, and
what's up with Joe? What you mean, Dart? I mean, I'm saying Joe and Mount Welty are like the two last dudes at Complex right now running it. As far as Bot, you said you worked at American Eagle. Was it the one that 2J's had, or are you just saying in general?
I just have a lot of, like everybody else, a lot of head scratching situations with it that make me wonder what the real intention was, because it didn't start off like, hey, we're gonna try to jerk you out of your whole business in a year or less.
Did you feel like before that Dom Shoe Surgeon was like your friend or a friendly person towards you, because you guys, I don't know what your relationship was, but you obviously probably run into each other in space before?
Never in person.
Yeah.
You know, obviously through social media, following them like everybody else. Yeah. Got to go to a couple activations, hellos in passing, and then, you know, from that sneaker con on, yeah, we did work or hang out a lot, you know, when I was in LA, because I was in LA like every other week, just because that's where their flagship is, their headquarters. You try to get along with the guys that you just did a deal with, right? Yeah. And Dallas wasn't much of an outside guy, and Dom was always the one that was doing all the activations and everywhere, so it kind of made a lot of sense to, you know, hang out a bit.
So you never had like the thought in your back of your head that these guys were going to eventually take my business from me?
No, not at all. I mean, again, I think that like the way the conversation started, what I thought we had an understanding on is totally different than what's playing out. Yeah. You know,
if you were to take the moment where you signed a deal and flash forward in like 5, 6, 7 years, at that moment, what would you envision it would be like?
I don't think I could have forecasted some of the changes that have happened in the world. I don't think anybody could. Yeah. But my initial thoughts and, you know, willingness to work with them was, okay, we've gotten it to where it's generating this and it's done that. And we've had these touch points and we have this, you know, amazing store without them. Like if we could do half the stuff that we're talking about, this is going to be pretty epic, right? And it started off kind of epic, right? We do a licensing deal in Riyadh, we open a second pop-up in Vegas, and then there's a store in LA, you know? So like, even though I wasn't necessarily all for some of those activations, the brand was growing, but we just were never really aligned on how we were running the business. There's changes that happen when you take on partners, but I didn't think we were going to change it as much as we did.
What was the moment when you kind of realized, you know, you're like, this isn't the Urban Necessities that I knew?
One was when we were changing consignor rates. I was very against changing consignor rates without like making it very transparent what we were doing. And there were changes that were happening on the back end that like weren't really, you know, let out the way they were supposed to. When we started opening stores that I just like forecasted, I don't think this is going to play out really well, and here's my whys, and we're opening them anyway, and then it's not working, and then you're trying not to say I told you so.
So the director of finance was the one saying that 2J is the one that was agreeing with these type of things, but we haven't really heard still much from the UN side or the other side, which is, you know, what I feel like is going to happen is they're going to give 2J's his stuff back, and that's when they're going to start talking their shit.
Right? You're just trying to like, let's just close it. I wanted to close it right out the gate. I had a moment with Dallas where I had some differences that caused me to jump in the car, go talk to Dom and say, hey, we got a problem, because if he's talking to me like this, then he's representing us in a negative light, and I'm not for it. And I'm getting the replies of, it's above my pay grade. I'm paid to look the other way. And that's kind of like started this whole thing that I start recognizing my problem September of the following year. And by December, like November, December, I'm trying my best to get out. So December, I'm already contract being offered, signing it. And then that starts almost 3 years of like trying to work my way out. And in working my way out, eventually my contract offer gets to 0. And I'm fired in between that, and it's just like the whole time I'm just scratching my head like in disbelief that this is going on the way it is.
Because you had said that the way that you had done it was you were trying to get out of
the brand.
And you were, you know, eventually trying to get them to buy you out. And I think the numbers were, it was like 4.5 million,
yes,
3 million, 1 million, and then the final one was
half a million in product, and then it was 0.
That was mostly your stuff to begin with.
Right. So I had like between almost like, well, I had like 500,000 to 600,000 in product between 2 accounts that got deleted. So when my work email got deleted, those accounts get deleted, and then they're putting everything in boxes, and the boxes are sitting in the store for months, and I'm not going in the stores as much as I once used to. There's kids that work at other stores that are like worked for us that are like, you couldn't get this guy out of the store. You know, and it's like it changed to like I'm not really allowed in the store. They didn't say like, hey, you can never go in the store, but it was like, stay away from the store, because like the things you're telling the staff to do takes away from the business practices that we're trying to instill, which to an extent I understand, but it was like breaking the ethos, in my opinion, of the brand. Right? Months and months and months of you're watching your boxes get opened up and shoot, it's like less and less boxes. You get to the point where you're like, dude, this is my stuff. Like, you're selling my stuff off. And, you know, I got to the point where, you know, life, and I asked staff, hey, is this mine? Is this remaining my stuff? Yes. They put it in a truck. And I took it back, and I sold my stuff because it was my stuff. Now, you know, as you've seen, everybody's talking about Jay took this, Jay took that, but like, I don't understand.
You stole a pinball machine?
Dude, I bought the pinball machines with my own money. And so that's why I keep saying, like, I can't wait till the day comes. I feel like I genuinely want to see them come in and raid the place. And I genuinely want to get pulled, but like, take me wherever you got to take me. Take my computers, take my phones, scrape through my text messages, take my emails. You're gonna like, when you start piecing together all my transactions out of personal bank accounts and my 2J's bank account, which for the record, 2J's doesn't owe any money. This is what like a lot of people are not understanding. There's two different businesses. It's Urban and 2J's, and all my expenditures are either out of my personal account or 2J's. They brought up like a house and a mortgage. But that's a house that we bought that we're like leasing out to the store that has employees living in it.
Because there was that comment by the woman,
yeah.
Kayla Markin, I guess. Who's
the key cog. And
oh, here we go. Okay, so wait, hold on.
there's two different businesses. It's Urban and 2J's.
He said some weird stuff. Hold
And
on.
all my expenditures are either out of my personal account or 2J's. They brought up like a house and a mortgage, but that's a house that we bought that we're like leasing out to the store that has employees living in it.
Because there was that comment.
So there's a house that y'all bought that y'all are leasing out to employees that are living in it?
Meant by the woman, Kayla Markin, I guess. Who's
the key cog and the scamming that's going on over there. She's the one that pushes all the buttons.
So she had left a comment actually on the Complex Sneakers post.
Yeah, I saw it.
That, it was a couple $100,000 here and there, $75,000. Babe, she said that you talked to your wife like inappropriately in front of her. Like, what do you have to say about her comment?
I mean, what she thinks is inappropriate is totally normal to us. I don't think I talk to my wife, especially in public, in front of somebody that we don't really even know. We're in a bank. Why would I even be talking crazy, right? We're coming to add you to the account so you could do what you got to do. The $75,000, when you guys come and look, which you can't do it fast enough, you'll see that came out of a personal bank account, a personal joint bank account with me and Joni, and I moved that money into 2J so I could then use my personal credit cards, because when we did this merger, all my credit cards, which I only had one for Urban, for myself, was an American Express that I was asked to give back and I don't use. Don't have a debit card for the business. Like, look at me. I understand why it's hard to trust people that look like me, and I worked really hard to not touch money from the business unless someone else was there with me. I didn't do debit transactions, wires, withdraw money. Like, I'm not even in there for the last 3 years.
I think one of the things that gets lost in the mix too, that you mentioned early on when everything came out, was that obviously your wife Joni having cancer, but it feels like that played a large role in the decision for you to even get into this situation to begin with. Is that fair to say? Or?
Very fair to say, because like, look, I can't do what Joni does, right? And if I did what Joni does, I can't do what I do, right? And the brand was really special because, like, you have a scenario where there was always somebody that was gravitating to one or the other. We found out that February, so I'm trying to run the business with her working from home while she's sick, and it's just the writing's on the wall. It's not sustainable. We're not going to be able to make it through. It's not that we weren't paying bills or that we weren't like making money. How the hell do I do her job while I'm in the store 80 to 90 hours a week? There's just no way, right? So should I have looked at other people, listen to other offers? Probably, but
do you think it ever would have been best to maybe just hire someone to try and replace her role instead of getting into...
I tried, but convincing to give Joni's job up to somebody else prior to, Joni was really hands-on too. She was way more hands-on than I was when it came to all that stuff. And did we have some, missteps and along the way?
Well, that doesn't sound like a good response right there.
That's
a good question from Matt. Like, why not just hire someone to do Joni's job instead of giving someone 50% of the business? That's a question that's a good statement, and the response was not a valid response.
Should I have looked at other people, listen to other offers? Probably, but with her working from home while she fills 80 to 90 hours a week, other offers
instead of getting into...
I tried, but convincing to give Joni's job up to somebody else prior to.
Convincing someone to give up.
That was
getting into...
I tried, but convincing to give Joni's job up to somebody.
Convincing to give up Joni's job
somebody else prior to.
To someone's job prior to.
Joni was really hands-on too.
Joni was really hands-on too.
Way more hands-on than I was when it came to all that stuff.
It just, that don't make no sense. That statement doesn't make any sense right there. That statement doesn't make any sense. You could have saved the percentage and gave someone else that opportunity, paid them, instead of giving. I don't know. That statement did not make sense grammatically, in my opinion. But that is a good question.
And did we have some, missteps and along the way that obviously could have been avoided if we had more help?
Yeah, Steve, that's what I'm saying. It's a weak response because that response doesn't even make sense. Joni got sick. Obviously, she couldn't do it as effectively as possible. So she more than likely was okay with doing the partnership. And y'all did the partnership, so that's cool. But you're telling me, though, when it came to just hiring someone still, that's where it was an issue. That was like, it was hard for you to give up Joni's job because Joni's hands-on, like all those things. Like how can all those things be an issue for hiring someone, but not an issue for partnering with someone?
Yeah, 100%. But this,
The only thing is that maybe Shoe Surgeon was willing to do it at a cheaper rate, extremely cheaper rate, if he could own 50% of the company. Or what may be was also probably the icing on the cake is that y'all saw a big, payday. Like $4 million is what they said. Like I can get $4 million and just do, and give up a little bit of this ownership and get a paycheck and have someone help me instead of hiring someone, having to pay them and still kind of like 100% in. I don't know.
this took on a life of its own. That's what I think people forget. We weren't a corporation. We're not publicly traded business. It's just a guy and a girl.
TwoJsKicks basically saying he tried to hire someone who was already working for UN, but no one wanted it. I mean, I get that, but he could have. There's plenty of people that you can hire outside as well. Like, because at the end of the day, Shoe Surgeon, you didn't hire. There was no one at UN that wanted to take the job. Cool. You then outsource it. You can't say he didn't want to outsource it because he outsourced Shoe Surgeon as a partner in a way.
That started off a kitchen table and it turned into that. We were just trying our best to kind of keep it going.
When I look at the scenario and think about it, it's like, you're a sneaker guy, Dom's a sneaker guy, even though he's gotten like very like corporate-y with a lot of, the deals and whatever. He has to make money. I'm not going to like hold it against him. And he's like made the Shoe Surgeon.
No signature. Are you talking about me? Benefit of the doubt doesn't have a problem with JC yet. Plays benefit of the doubt from Shoe Surgeon side. Are you talking about me or who you talking about? No, because we played both sides of the fence. We call it down the middle over here.
In a much bigger thing. But did you kind of feel like at first you're like, all right, I'm a sneaker guy, he's a sneaker guy, this is just going to be some like sneaker guy sort of business, and then it turned much into like
Dude, when I looked at their operation and their setup, right, I was like, man, if we had this at Urban, this would be like 21 Mercer in a sense, right? I've always looked at retail like, how do I get my guests to stay for north of 30 minutes? Because if I could do that, I don't necessarily need you to buy something, even though we do. But like, if you're in there for more than 30 minutes, chances are you got a positive experience. Chances are you're going to tell somebody else that's into this stuff. Mm-hmm. So when I was looking at the services that they were offering, I'm trying to incorporate them to the store. I'm like, oh, this is no brainer because that's going to take at least 30 minutes to do, and it's a higher price point, right? I never took Dom to be like.
My apologies, no signature. My apologies, and I kind of thought that because I saw some people going in. Some people no signature. Some people went in on Welty saying he didn't like double down on questions and stuff. I saw that too. So now I understand what you're saying. My apologies for jumping the gun. Sorry.
Like, try hard with sneakers, right? Like he understands like the basics, but he's not like the guy that goes, oh, hey man, did you see that this is coming out? And there's not a knock on him. That's just not what he's into. There's
been, a lot of commentary out there where they're just like, oh, the biggest takeaway from this is that 2J's is just like bad at business. And that's why this happened. Like
everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? I think the biggest misconception is everybody thinks that I did this without CPAs and lawyers. We had lawyers look at this, the same lawyers that did the American Eagle deal.
Well, here's the issue. In chat, y'all been watching this, we've been playing this out. The only issue with that, 2J's, is we have not yet heard you state that you had a lawyer look at the first contract. We're talking about the initial deal. You had people look at the contract after the fact when you're trying to find ways to get back in within the business and get your power back and all. But I have not heard him, and correct me, chat, like the people that have been watching all my live streams, we haven't heard him say that he had someone look over the contract before he signed the initial deal, right? Because I know I didn't hear that yet.
And look, it's only a bad deal, and we're only talking about the deal because someone's not holding up their end of the bargain, right?
You're going to have to point that to me then, Dub, where we hear him say he sent the contract over and had my lawyers look it over, and it looked good, and we signed it. And I'm not talking about the buyout contract. You gotta find that for me, Dub. You gotta find that for me because we watched every video and we've always been questioning it. Every video that he's put out so far, we have not heard him say that when Shoe Surgeon, at first they did a handshake. It went well. Then they did a deal for a contract for $4 million. There was never anything stated that I have my lawyers look it over. There was we didn't. I don't think about that. Amber, what's up, Amber?
Right now, that's
good to see you over here.
It's for you to side with whatever side, and I can't really lose sleep over what side you want to be on with this. I just know what my intentions are, and I know what's going on, and there is not what I signed up for.
What about the whole liability aspect? Because I know that you had said, that was probably
it's only an issue
probably
if,
the thing that caught you most off guard, where you didn't realize that, or I don't know if you didn't realize, but you kind of.
I understood there was some liability, but I didn't understand that there was like full liability, right?
So how do you? So that's my question, Dub. How did he not know it was full liability? How does he not know that? Because he learned it afterwards. That's what I'm saying. How does he not know full liability until after? He said he knew there was some liability, but not full. It's because he didn't learn it till afterwards. If a lawyer, if you get the paperwork, check this out. A lawyer is gonna tell you full liability. You about to sign, you about to give these man full liability. That's why I don't think he's lying, because I don't remember him saying it. I have not heard 2J's yet say that he had a lawyer look this over before he signed it. And for him to say this right now goes with what I'm saying, that he didn't know until afterwards.
Right, but again,
my mic's low, my bad.
It's only an issue if we're not doing what we're supposed to, right? Mm-hmm. If this goes in the direction, and that's shoulda, coulda, woulda at this point, but if it goes in the direction that we all initially had talked about, then that's not even an issue. We're at where we need to, we're raising what we need to, and there's the layers that at least I wanted to see in there, right? When you don't report to the state.
Well, Dub, we're going to have to look that up afterwards, because I know exactly what you're talking about, but he did not mention having a lawyer after. He's talking about he had his lawyers look over it, and his lawyers told him that he could win the case and that it's going to cost so much money, and that his lawyers, he never said that the lawyers, he said he had lawyers. Not going against him, not saying have lawyers, but as far as him having a lawyer that looked over the initial contract before he signed it, he had lawyers look at the contract. He had lawyers look at the contract to try to figure out what he can do, but none of it was ever said that they looked at the contract before he signed it. We have not heard that.
Like the change of managing members, right? And then you don't report, hey, this guy's email's no longer there, and then they come knocking on the door, because obviously someone had to get served papers for it to get to seizures of bank accounts, right? Like, that's the part that I don't understand. It's like, forget the differences. You don't like me, you don't want to.
And just to show you what I'm talking about, Dub, and I'm not mad at you, nothing. I'm just with you here. I'm with you. But we got the live streams saved. We got the live streams all right here. We went through all these.
Man, oh man.
So we got them right here.
Y'all got questions. I got questions.
So if you're talking about them, brother, we went through them and it's not in there.
Don't work with me. I don't want to work with you. Like, there's the lack of it being humane, right? Like, especially with what's going on with my wife. That's what we got taught, to keep the lights on, roof over our head, and pay the medical bills, and now that's just gone. When I look at the entire thing, I know that I can't put our dollar or our problems in front of people that have respected my brand and allowed my brand to grow there, and that it's their money that's helping the brand get to where it's at. So I have to take accountability, even though the other side's like, nah, let's just bankrupt it. And I'm like, well, even if you go the bankrupt route, I still don't want consigners to fall there, and I don't even know the number, right? And it's like, everybody's like, another thing that keeps getting said is like, how do you not know what you owe? Well, I mean, I'm not getting paperwork, right? Like, I'm fighting for paperwork, and now they're trying to make me sign paperwork to be able to look at paperwork, but that's the fiduciary responsibility that's in the contract. So it's like, I don't know.
Can we talk about the video you posted?
Which one?
The one with you going live and pulling up on the store?
Tell me why we got U-Hauls in the back of the store.
So yeah, I want to hear about this. I want to know if he's going to tell us who that person was. This dude right here, this initial guy. Like, was this a actual consignor? Like, I want to know what the hell's going on here, man.
You want to tell me why you're packing consignor product into this truck?
This is mine. I'm a consigner.
Man,
I'm a consigner.
Man, bro, I've never driven that fast. I live 30 minutes away from the.
So we already knew he was crashing out. Now, not as bad as a crash out like some people crash out in this world, but definitely thought 2J was kind of crash. Like, yeah, he's even admitting it. Salute him.
Store. I got there in 12. I pull up. I see this truck. I park right in front of the truck. I open the gate. This kid's like, "Oh, I'm 2J's. I'm a consignor." I've never seen this kid in my life.
Oh, he was pretending to be you? Wait,
no. You're talking about the one when I pulled up with the truck. Yeah. So I pull up to the U-Haul.
Oh, got you.
I pull up, park in front of the U-Haul. I open the U-Haul. I'm like, "Yo, what do you want to tell me what you're doing with this consignor product?" He's like, "Nah, I'm a consignor. This is my product." I hear him say that, but I don't know that. I've never seen that kid in my life. And if I have, it definitely wasn't an interaction that was enough for me to remember it, right? And we spoke once the camera was off. I got him in my car and he tried to explain, and I'm like, "Dude, just put yourself in my position." I pull up to.
There you go. You see, that's what I'm saying.
Ooh, that pussy popping on a handstand.
Salute to Amber.
Dono train. Let's fucking go.
Salute to Amber. Salute to Amber. Salute to Amber. Salute to Amber in the building. Amber coming through. Don't know what's going on and dropping donos, man. I need you see, man. Come on, don't let Amber just come through on 2Wild Crew and just drop the dono. Y'all don't. Yeah, salute to Amber, man. I appreciate you, Amber. Now, Fat Boy Kicks salutes to you, homie. But remember, you, along with other people in the comment section, was trying to tell me, nah, he doing some sneaky stuff. He doing this and he doing that. 2Js is saying right here, I didn't know. You got to understand, bro. He admitting he fucked up, which I applaud him for doing. But that's why I'm saying people be just trying to run with what they see. And Fat Boy, I'm not just specifically talking about you, but I don't know if you necessarily said what was going on, but you was playing around, like teasing with it. We were teasing with the idea that, oh, he up there some people were in the chat saying, oh, he buying the consignment pairs on the back end and scamming. And look, it came to find out he sat with him in the car and told Buddy, hey man, listen, man, put yourself in my shoes, meaning I fucked up and I don't know what's going on. But 2J's definitely jumped the gun there. And that's why you can't just believe everything you see. You got to let that shit play out. I knew 2J's was going in there hot-headed, not probably fully thinking and just doing too much. I had a big feeling that guy was a legitimate consigner. And we found out that he was legit. It seemed like we're going to keep playing it. He might switch up and say, I found out later he wasn't. But what I'm saying is that guy, it wasn't no sneaky stuff going on. Dude was a consigner. We are live, Kicks TV. Heat waves. You remember that? You remember that? We were all in here talking about it. Not a lot of people were trying to say, man, they doing some shady stuff, man. They buying the product. They buying everybody's shoes for the deals and all that. Like,
it definitely,
some people ain't here now.
Definitely wasn't an interaction that was like enough for me to remember it, right? And we spoke once.
Now, let's put it this way, right? Salute 2Js. It's not an interaction for you to remember it, but we got to call it down the middle here, right? And I might say I'm not calling it down the middle, but 2Js, we gonna say one thing where it's like you didn't remember it because you remember everybody, but I'm pretty sure on another end, bro, 2Js, you deal with so many people in that store, thousands of people, bro. Thousands of people. You're not gonna remember everybody, bro. That's like you trying to remember everybody you meet at SneakerCon. Like, ain't no way, bro. I remember a lot of people, but I can't remember everybody. So,
Once the camera was off, like I got him in my car and he tried to explain it. And I'm like, dude, just put yourself in my position. I pull up to my store, no one's letting me in. They're giving me a hard time to get in. I ain't never had security guards in my store.
That's fine, Kicks TV. And as I'm saying, he was going in, but the thing is, when you're in these type of situations, Kicks TV, you gotta move. You can't let your emotions overstep your message. Because if your emotions overstep your message and then you start getting shit wrong, people are not gonna even follow up anymore. Oh man, he tripping. If you go in there and you pull up that and you showing some dude that's doing legitimate business and making it look crazy, and you saying, look what they doing with the product, this and that, and they come to find out he wasn't doing nothing wrong, now it's a strike on your name that you ain't really saying what you got to say. Then when he went in more, he pointed at an empty wall saying, where's all the shoes at? And then we put up an Instagram page where it showed hats were there. And the guy on the camera said, those were hats there, 2Js, they're all gone or whatever. So you gotta, if you're trying to prove a point, if you're trying to debate, you gotta stay on par and keep your composure. You gotta keep that thing balanced, because if you let it spike up, your composure will mess with your brain and ruin your message. That's why when people come on, like I've been in interactions with people where people, will just curse me out or talk shit. They call me all sorts of words. They want me to go back and forth with them on that. I'll keep myself at this. As much as I want to, I maintain this because this is going to get a better reaction than that. And 2Js even said it in the beginning. He was all in emotion. Now, can I understand his emotion? I can understand what he was feeling and what he going through. But in that situation, I know that if I'm going live and I'm trying to prove something, I got to keep myself composed. Otherwise, if I overreact and I fuck up, I'm ruining my message. I'm ruining the point of the video. I'm making myself not as, my brain's not working right now damn. Keep him, I need a sip of water. I'm ruining my message, basically. I'm ruining my who I am. I'm diminishing. Y'all find the word for me in the chat. I know y'all know what I'm talking about, but basic my notoriety, my word, my efforts, the meaning behind what I'm doing. I'm ruining it because I'm getting stuff wrong.
That's their security guard.
So you got like that old Spanish guy.
Yeah, that's their security guard. For that, he works the surgeon of like events and all that other stuff. He ain't one of my employees. He's never, he's a great guy. Yeah. And I felt really bad. Like, you hear me talking to him. If you translate what I'm saying, I'm like, dude, I love you, but like, please don't get involved. This has nothing to do with you. Like, please don't be involved. And so like, I go back to that kid after the camera shut off, and I'm like, look, man, I have no idea who you are. I don't have no paperwork. I don't know who to believe at this point. This all seems like sus to me. It was like a uniform reply. And then you see Dallas sitting there like, you can help us like get consign a product. My man has never talked to anybody like that ever.
That was I feel like one of the craziest parts of the thing is that,
oh, come help us.
No, the fact that you opened the door and he's right there. Because like, I didn't know who he was beforehand. I still don't know much about him, right? But it seemed like, there've been some stories written like he's the real man behind all of surgeons.
Well, business. I mean, I had a look. So the first conversation of like, hey, we want to bankrupt this thing. My first reply was, when Isaac called me, was like, dude, like, off. Like, why would I help you? Then I like calmed down, picked up the phone. I said, how did we get here? Right. And then, like, now you're telling me what you got to do or what you want to do. And then that following Wednesday, that's when the accounts got seized. That Friday, I'm in LA spending 7 hours with Isaac and then Dom and then one of our partners from Saudi. And they're trying to pass the buck to Saudi. Right. And I'm like trying to tell Saudi, like, dude, this isn't your problem. I understand that you're tied to this, but I don't see it.
Are they panicking because of,
I haven't heard much from them because, again, it's not their problem and they don't want to get in the middle, which I totally understand, right? I just have a real hard time to ask any of my friends within this industry or people that want to help, because I've had offers from everybody. Like, dude, let's go back in there and fix it. Like, yo, you'd be the guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, guys, one, I haven't been in this industry realistically hands-on in 3 years. The world's changed. And I don't know how bad it is in there still. Right. And so then all these guys that are trying to buy it are getting NDAs, and I don't even know if the numbers even match. Right. Like, how do you get somebody to commit to saving a sinking ship in a matter of days, but we need weeks and months to go through thousands and thousands of line items?
Do you think that it's almost like a futile attempt in the sense that everyone's saying that resale as a whole?
Let me test something out, y'all. Testing. Yeah. Testing. Yeah. Testing. Yeah. Yeah. This don't sound bad to you? Like, this sounds good to y'all? That shit sound loud to me.
Is dead.
I don't think resale's dead.
Thank you, Mr. Perfect. Credibility, man. Reputation's too, but it was credibility.
I think that we got to get a little bit more creative, and we got.
Let me know if my audio sound good now, or does it need to go up even more? I can bring it up more. It sounded like, I don't know. It sounds crazy on my end, bro. 76 is the highest I can go too, and it won't even hit. Oh, that's why. It's not even letting me. Okay, hold on. I see now. I got to get this. I got to get my presets, podcast studio, broadcast. Let's do that. Testing. Woo. God damn. How does it sound? I'm trying to get this this fixed for y'all. Noise gate. Testing. Woo. It's like it's not letting it hit a certain marker. Yeah. I think it's a compressor on that bit. It's louder now. Hold on, this is what we need. Testing. God damn. Yeah, I gotta figure that out. I know it sound work. Testing. Testing. Yeah. Noise gate. Threshold gain. Gain. Yeah, it's like on a limiter. That's what it is, though. Testing. Podcast studio. Yeah. What the hell's going on, man? All right. I'm just gonna try to keep it closer, and we'll definitely have to get it right down the road. But yeah, we'll get it. We're gonna have to mess with it a little bit. But it's some sort of like limiter on it. That's what's causing this issue.
To focus more on the experiences than every singular transaction. Right? Urban worked because it was more than just a transaction. It was an experience. It was part of the culture in a sense, and it was like people bought into who Joni and I were. The second we stopped doing that in storytelling, that's when it got tough, right?
Yeah, because I feel like early on when you opened that store in New York City, there were a lot of people who were telling me they wanted...
Store did 10 million.
They wanted to go to your store, not because necessarily they wanted to buy a pair of sneakers, is because
they just wanted to see it.
They watched you on YouTube and they liked your story and they wanted to go interact with it.
If they would let me open that door on the side of Houston,
yeah,
we would have probably done 15, 16 mil out of that place, out of that little back corner. I drove by it today coming here, and it's like they cemented the door, man. The world's definitely changed.
You said you have a lot of people wanting to help you out. You don't want the help. Do you see, if this doesn't work out, do you see a future for yourself in sneakers, or is there a pivot?
I look, man, I think more than anything, I want to try to help people, right? Like this, I before I did sneakers, like a lot of resellers, I did cell phones, and before I've just done retail, right? Yeah. And like my previous job my last job before sneakers, I lost my job fighting too hard for the little guy that had the big cell phone bill because he either went out of the country or forgot to pay a bill. And I didn't understand back then that like I was taking away from the margins of the business by fighting so hard. If I wouldn't get the answer, I'd pick up the phone and call back to like a rep that would like actually take some sort of accountability for like trying to, help or whatever. If I can't do sneakers anymore, which I don't know if the world's going to let me. Right, that's the first one. I might want to do it.
You think you're going to be like not blackballed per se, but people just wouldn't want to be involved with you because they saw everything?
I think it depends on the number and how long it takes for the truth to come out.
Yeah.
Right. Like, please come get my phones. Please take my computers. You don't believe me? Don't believe me. My black and white text messages, emails, phone calls are gonna. You know what I mean? That's my only vindication at this point, right? And I don't want to, in a sense, I don't want to pass the buck off to somebody else, because if I pass the buck off to somebody else, the truth won't be let out. And these guys might be able to go do this at some point again. At this point, I'm not even fighting against them anymore. At this point, like, what's right is people need to know where my flaws were. And I've always said that when I make mistakes, you need to know about those more so than my wins, right? That's what it's always been. That's being transparent. That's growing. That's learning, right? Like, and so, I just hope that doesn't take 5 or 6 years, because, where's Joni in this? And am I going to still be motivated to be outside in any sort of capacity if something were to happen to Joni? You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to make it about her, but it's like, it's been rough to watch her go through what she's going through, and now every thought is about this, not her actual fight.
Have you like kind of compartmentalized, a scenario where they do give you the business back, but it's like obviously not a great situation for you, like the worst scenario you would take it back under?
I mean, look, is there a world where I would take 100% accountability for something I started? Yeah, 100%, but it's got to make sense. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm not Obamacare, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to bail you out of, what if this is 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 100 million? I don't know what it is. I know what the taxes were before I left. I know what the taxes are that are owed today.
Yeah.
That have nothing to do with the taxes that were owed. Like, I don't have an understanding of consignor debt. I don't have an understanding of my loan debt. I finally, like, I've been begging for this paperwork to be able to see stuff. I finally went to the bank yesterday and had people that helped me get back in there and at least be able to like log in and download CSV files. And I scraped the last 6 months, and we're paying somebody. It just ain't the consignors and the taxes, but I've repaid, somehow I paid $600,000 in loans, which I don't even know what the number is to the loans. I don't know who signed for the loans, and I don't know the dollar amount for the loans, right? So if I paid $600,000 in the last 6 months in loans, then I probably took 7. Did I take 8-figure loan, right? And then like the crazy thing for me,
I still think that what I said earlier about this, guys, where I believe that Shoe Surgeon is doing some sort of Ponzi scheme where he's buying into these companies and then taking loans out from those companies that he buys to then pay off other loans or pay off other people. I feel like there's something like that's going on. I don't know. He even says right here, there's a loan that they're paying $600,000 off on. I'm very curious of what that is.
Problems, my disconnect started happening 2 years ago. This legal problem for them with Nike, that was a $60 million settlement, right? That really started 2 years ago. People found out a year ago, and that's when it went public. There's no way you could talk me out of not believing that they spent over $1 million on legal fees.
Do you think that these?
That's what I've been speculating right there, is that some of that money must be going towards that. He did settle with them, but it seems like Wealthy's about to ask that question.
There's a direct correlation, a million %, because how does a...
Oh, and he's saying, yeah, he's saying, so 2Js is trying to say that they used you in to pay for that Nike. That's what it sounds like is being said right now.
You think that...
Salutes to Skinny the Don in the building. Salutes to Mr. Skinny.
There's no way you could talk me out of not believing that they spent over $1 million on legal fees.
Do you think that these...
There's a direct correlation, a million %, because how...
So that's a big statement right there.
Does a business that has never taken a loan outside of PayPal loans to go to SneakerCon? I've never taken a loan for the business. How do I all of a sudden have like this credit card, this loan? Like, who signed for that?
Okay, so you think that Shoe Surgeon and his associates used the money from Urban Necessities to help pay his fight against Nike?
I mean, no one's proving me otherwise, right? So now here's the other thing. When you look at this like scenario, right, it was for infringement. To put it into perspective, right? My last sit-down phone call and 3 text messages to my lawyer cost me $11,600. So what is a year's worth of that cost, right? And so then I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but when I look at, has there been anybody else that's been sued or had a settlement with Nike for infringement?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes. And that guy had to pay $8 million.
Yeah.
That guy didn't have classes, and that guy didn't have the same price points for his product.
It wasn't as big as like a kind of name, right?
It wasn't as big as a name, and it wasn't as big as a lawsuit either, right? So if that guy settled for $8 million, is this a $10 million repayment in 10 years? $20 million repayment? Like, why did I have loans?
And so siphoning the money off not even just the legal fees, but you think that they knew that this was coming and they were like, hey, we have this big asset, we can suck it dry and just...
I'm unsettled, right? I'm not comfortable with this situation because obviously I'm not getting the fiduciary responsibilities that happen at any part here as far as filling me in as what's going on or not. Now, granted, I'm not involved on the surgeon side, so I can't understand or know what's going on with that lawsuit, because then that would breach their contract and that would be a whole another problem for them. I got consigners that are yapping that they've had issues in the last 2 years, right? I stopped having access to operational stuff from a monetary standpoint or a paying out standpoint in that same time frame, and all of a sudden I got all these crazy loans that I don't even know the dollar amount. Consigners aren't getting paid. Like, I don't understand how this...
By the way, guys, we got 5 minutes left and we got about 3 minutes on the Diddy thing, so we're gonna try to make this thing happen. Let's get it.
Store's still open, but we're not paying taxes or consign. Who are we paying?
Yeah.
Until those questions get answered, then how can I answer that honestly or not have that thought? And that's my frustration with it. And so I've been asking for the paperwork. I mean, again, there was a fiduciary responsibility that at one point I used to get the Excel spreadsheets on a weekly basis, and it stopped years ago, right? And now I'm being asked, hey, you got to sign NDAs and all this other stuff because you're like damaging the business because you're running your mouth. Like, yeah, I'm going to run my mouth because our business is doing janky business, and I'm genuinely concerned for consigners. If that store closes and they take that product out, that's now product that consigners are out, and we're not like being mindful of what people got going on in the world. And right now I'm walking around outside, I don't even know who we owe, and everybody's pointing the finger at me.
Do you think that through all of this that it's either going to help people want to rally behind you and, you know, support the business harder, or do you think it's kind of soured the business's name in the grander scheme of things?
It's a great question, and I think that you can make a great case for both sides. I think, again, it's, if I get in there, is it manageable, right? Like, let's just say, for sake of conversation, it's let's say it's $2 million, right? Like, all of it. If it were $2 million, I could probably handle it without having to even pick up the phone, right? Just sell a house here, sell a house there, work out repayment programs for whatever loans we're taking out. But then I got to have those guys actually sign paperwork, because I got multiple scenarios where they haven't signed paperwork, and then I've gotten multiple lawsuits on my brand for behavior that they've conducted, right? Even with Complex. You know, you got a lot of people out there that have seen how I conduct business, and they see the differences. And again, I'm just trying to take accountability.
So do you think that in, 3 months time span or whatever, down the road, 6 months from down the road, do you think we're still going to be talking about this, or do you think it's all going to be...
I hope not. Like I said, I downloaded CSV files from the bank from November 11, 2022 till yesterday.
Yeah.
And 1 month was over 6,000 line items, right? So I got a little bit of scraping to do. And then that's just like my novice eyes on it, right? I got to get real forensics. And then the other thing is the value that you're saying that is consignor product that's in there. Is it really in there? Because I got tons of text messages from other people that are saying, hey, the Urban's shopping this list around, and there's like even Fat Joe shoes on this list.
Yeah.
And we didn't buy Fat Joe shoes. Fat Joe consigned with us. Why is his shoes on a list that you're selling? I got consigners that have 4 or 5 different accounts that are like, I haven't been paid in a year, and shoes are still selling. It's like, it's janky, bro. It's really janky.
Since, well, obviously the whole world's going to see this, if you could say anything to Dom right now, what would it be?
For once in your life, do the right thing. For once. I don't know how you could just continue to allow this to be going on unless you're in on it, and everything that you've said to me in person is just an act, right? Because it's 2 different people, email in person.
So, if this all doesn't work out, what's the next thing for 2Js in your mind? Have you even thought about that, like a life after Urban Necessities?
I can't. I don't have any interest in trying to understand what is possibly next for me until I get this resolved. I don't care if this is the last thing I do. If it were up to me, if I could, like, get an understanding of what's going on, even when the ship sinks, and once I have visibility or access to consignor debt and like what's missing, I want to try to take the steps to correct that with interest.
Right. JC, that's it, man.
I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah,
thank you.
For sure.
All right.
What is it? She's an Instagram OnlyFans model? Like, I don't even know what she does. I'm genuinely curious.
I used to do a podcast with Joe Budden. Joe Budden told me something one time, and I told him it was flat out lying. He said, academics, you look at some of these...
Is Act live? All right, guys. So we just finished that up. We got the bail hearing at 5 o'clock right now. So we're gonna be waiting on that, see what's going on real quick. Perfect timing. The Diddy verdict. Let's see. Trying to see if Life in Crime is live. I know Zaya is live. Let me just see. He's probably watching the video himself.
A busy time for her. We did send out to some requests for
This is Fox. So breaking news. Judge waives releasing Combs ahead of sentence. Come on, man. Where's the live shit at? But he needed money for his wife's treatment. Kicks TV. I don't think it was necessarily that he needed it for his wife's treatment. He needed the help of the business. And he said himself, he didn't need money. It was more so he needed help with the business. Damn, so they're not even live right now. Like live, like who, like how the hell are they not live? Yeah, and no signature. Yeah, 2J's asked for that interview. He reached out to them, so it wasn't necessarily them. 2J's asked it. We're waiting. I'm trying to figure this out, man. But damn, I wanted to like. Like it seems like nobody's live. Oh, here we go. Live now, Fox. Okay, we at least put this on.
For the prosecution, talking about the bravery it took for Cassie to come forward. All right, let's take you right now out. Our Fox 5 team there as they are detailing some of these proceedings, watching and waiting as well.
So in the inner city press, let me see, did he say anything? 5 p.m. new thread for bail proceedings started. Programming notes. Bail hearing at the 9. Okay, so we're gonna have to just stay right here.
All right, doesn't appear any audio is coming
in the courtroom. Combs' lawyer, Brian Stone, Jason are patting each other on the back. Agnifo is holding the cell, is in the holding cell with Combs, and his family is in the second row of the gallery.
Will be released on bail, or he'll remain in custody. We'll see what happens. We just spoke
have they well, now this is bond. I wonder when they'll tell us when sentencing is.
Based on their experience in some of these courtrooms inside.
Ron Gosford, what's good, man?
We spoke to Ben Taylor, a lawyer, last night, potentially about the fact that if he does get released,
they sentenced him already, put 15 years on probation and banned him from well/baby oil and red balls and with a rope connected. Damn.
We'll see if that is the case. There are several different options as this is just what we're watching unfold. But this will happen in sentencing. If it does happen, will not begin until September, October, or November. Again, let's dive back.
September, October, November is how long the actual sentencing will be. September, October, November. So yeah, he's gonna have to sit in there for a long ass time. I'm blocking it. Personally, guys, right? On an actual thought process, I think that he should be able to get off with bail, based upon the actual, just the court, nothing personal. I know I'm saying personally, but I'm saying let me speak. When I say personally, I mean like on a just non-bias. Racketeering, like all those other charges, you put him in there, but prostitution, traveling prostitution, like I just don't feel like that's a charge. He was not found guilty on the other one, so you can't say he's, you know, you can't put those things on him. But like transportation of prostitution is not a charge that I feel like is worth him being held in until it's time. That's what I'm saying. Anyone caught with that would charge would be able to. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. Like prostitution. If you buy a prostitute and get arrested and go to jail, you're going to do time. Maybe not even do time. You probably get fined and like probation. But the difference, of course, is the transportation part. And when you do the transportation part, if you buy a escort in New York and fly her out to Texas, that's where you know that the cross state lines is when it becomes federal. But it's just like, I hate to say it that way, but like, bro, everybody do that shit. A lot of these people be doing that shit. Not saying I do it. I'm just saying a lot of motherfuckers be flying these hoes out, paying these hoes, really.
Talking about what he has and some of the similarities between the Harvey Weinstein cases. They came back with that partial verdict. Now split.
That's what I think, Ron. I think that too, Ron Gosford. I think, but then like I think Dub was saying, whatever they give him, he's gonna have to do 85% of it. So they can't give the man 5 years, because if he had 5 years, he's gonna have to do, you know what, at least 3 of that. Really, probably what, 4, close to 4. So I'm honestly thinking they're gonna give him like a year probation, a year in prison, and then maybe 4 years probation or some shit. Like he'll get 5 years, but 5 years, you've been sentenced to 5 years. One of those years in behind bars, the other 4 years in probation or some shit like that.
Guilty verdict, a acquittal for the music mogul. It was an emotional release for him, as these were the scenes, these were the sketches inside of the courthouse. You can see there.
And even someone said, like, knowing, you gotta be honest, like knowing Trump, he might pardon Diddy, bro. He might pardon that nigga Diddy off some prostitution.
So we're just still watching and waiting here. They're outside of the courtroom.
He might pardon that nigga. That ain't, like I said, like, we know, like, obviously Diddy put hands on her. He did a whole bunch of crazy shit. Diddy's a sexual deviant. But we gotta go. It ain't about if you innocent. Like, you could be not guilty and still be not innocent. You can be innocent and guilty in a way, or it don't really, those two things are not as hand in hand as you think. And what I'm saying is, based upon just legal law, he's not guilty on 2 bad crimes. He's guilty on a more lesser crime. And that lesser crime is not a crime that's like, I don't know.
On 2 of the 5 counts that he was facing, they are the lesser offenses. So his defense team has
yeah, Steve, I'm saying. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
To begin at any moment now, the judge asking both sides to submit letters arguing for and against his
definitely would think he would have did that if he had a second term. He's already on his second term, but I could see, you know, him like doing that to get Diddy to, like, you know, be a puppet for him.
And this morning, Diddy was found not guilty of racketeering conspiracy and 2 counts of
okay, it's 504. Combs lawyers, Agnefilo, Shapiro, and Terry Gargis emerged from the holding cell waiting on Sean Combs to be brought into the courtroom by U.S. Marshals.
So let's get right over to Lisa Evers, who's been outside the courthouse all morning long into this evening. Lisa, what are you hearing?
Well, Bianca, Natasha, just think about this. That verdict came out early this morning, and Sean Diddy Combs has been in a holding pen the entire day waiting for this whole issue to be resolved. Instead of resolving that bail question right after the verdict was read, the prosecutors asked for several more hours in order to try and put their position together, which their position being they want to keep Sean Diddy Combs behind bars, even though he was cleared of the 2 most serious charges.
The thing is, this is also more so in their favor, in my opinion, because, like, bruh, like, let's put it this way. Diddy if I'm the defense, like, listen, bro, Diddy's not guilty on 2 crimes that would have put him in jail. You have a man that was facing life behind bars. You have a man that was in fear of his life that pretty much got a second chance. You think this man is gonna do anything else to risk himself going back behind bars again? This man is not about to play with nothing. People were saying like or Cassie saying he gonna hurt her. Bro, that man ain't finna do nothing to that lady. That man don't want no smoke right now. He just got off on one of the biggest cases of all time. From the feds too. This man ain't finna do none of that. Mr. Chop Top, the thing is, bro, they charged Diddy with the wrong charges, bro. You know, did they charge him with arson? Well, they couldn't prove that either, right? They charged him with the wrong stuff, but at the same time, for it to be a Fed case, you got to have Fed charges, right? Okay, 509. Sean Combs has been brought in, sits next to Terry Gregory's reading. Farron wants to walk over to the turn and back over to the seat. Prosecutors are in place at the front table waiting for the judge. All right, guys, so this guy is like, he's the guy, bro. He's the guy that breaks everything in reality. He broke this shit last time because I saw him tweet it, and then I was seeing live Law and Crime, all them pretty much reading off his tweets. Soon as this man tweets, bro, that's when we gonna know. The news channels, all them they got this man on lockdown. I wonder if he's in there or if he's getting information. The only reason why I'm saying is because you can't have no cell phone in no courtroom like that texting. Tony, he will get revenge 100%. That's his ego. That's what 1090Jake was saying. But I don't think he's going to get revenge by killing anybody. Will he be sabotaging, blackmailing, probably trying to do weird shit like that? Possibly. Yeah, I want to see him come out with that gray hair. But then again, Diddy might come out with like umbrellas on and they covering his head, his face, and everything. I don't think Diddy gonna let us see him like that.
Another detainee with a similar conviction would be not asked. I think a regular detainee with a similar conviction would not have to have an ankle bracelet with 24/7 monitoring by security. Handing your passport, the defense counsel already has that. Stay in certain venues, drug tests. Don't leave New York or Florida where you reside. Post bond if you need to, in terms of the $1 million that's being asked by the defense. Those are reasonable things to ask. Is he going to return to court? Yes. If you have evidence that he makes a threat, you put him back in. And then you've tried many big cases. What role does his family presence have? It's been very strong, very consistent, especially this last final week. His mother's been there every single day. He said his 85-year-old mother is one of the defense application. He needs to be the main caretaker for his 85.
I understand that, Kicks, but you don't think that man knows right now that people are watching him? Like in my brain, I'm thinking like, bro, I'm not doing shit. If Cassie get hurt while I'm out on bail, like, bro, the first person they gonna look at is me. You don't think he thinking that? Ain't none of them people nah, that ain't smart of him.
Obviously, someone else has been doing it. Let's not overstate, but let's also be very clear. They show their support. They're available for him. They're going to ensure.
Hell was that?
They offered one of the bail packages previously that was denied.
Salute to Andrew in the building.
Do you think this is going to be? We're going to be in the 7 figures.
Buddy got the paper cut and stream. Who?
It's either going to be release him, or subject to certain conditions, or it's going to be much.
What's good, Andrew?
In terms of what that dollar amount is, there's no reason if it was that high or higher when you're talking about violent, ugly crimes, they don't exist.
I appreciate you, man. 7. Wait, he's gifting 1, so there's gifted total of. Damn, you gifted 61 on the channel. 61 subs you've donated, Andrew. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much
Oh, he got the that's what I'm saying, bro. He got a nigga on the inside or something.
Go back to the Metropolitan Detention Center that has been named by numerous prison watch groups as one of the worst in the United States in terms of conditions, or whether he'll be in a much more comfortable setting.
He'll wait. What's going on, Bucks? Man, good time. J Rio, what's good?
Was released. Anyway, that's the latest here from federal court. Natasha and Bianca, back to you in the studio.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much. You keep watching Fox 5 for continuing
D.
coverage
Jones,
of
what's
this
good?
breaking Diddy verdict. We're going to have more legal analysis coming up.
All right, it appears they are going away.
Turtle, what's good? Turtle, Dick Barry.
Live now from Fox, but this is what we're sticking with. You can see the live picture.
I'm pretty sure they are scared. The only thing is, though, you know, Diddy got money where he can make that shit happen even when he locked up, though, right? I mean,
5 p.m. hearing here on Live Now from Fox, a live picture. You can see
Andrew, that man sitting out there listening.
Transport area.
I don't know. I want to know what he doing, like how he do this.
You heard some of the conditions there that might be laid out for this case.
But I think he be in there, Andrew. I just think, is he walking in and out? Like, what the fuck is he doing?
The verdict coming down today. We'll see if he remains at that MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, or is released on this bail, heading home.
Wait, Andrew, you got a Jeep now?
New York.
You might have told me you got one before. My bad, because I remember you had the Silverado at one point.
You can see plenty of supporters there out right now here on Live Now.
You said Jeep Trail.
Any sort of decision. So we're also getting new information. We're hearing.
I appreciate that, man. Rena had popped up not that long ago too.
Prosecution talking about her bravery to come forward to really start this whole investigation, and then of course the lawsuit that we've detailed very closely.
KC World, what's good, brother?
Also from Douglas Victor, the attorney for Cassie.
Gone Bananas badge in this bit.
Sean Diddy Combs released from federal custody, saying Miss Ventura believes that Mr. Combs is likely to pose a danger
So this is
to the victims.
This is what she's saying.
In this case, including herself, as well as to the community. So you're hearing there from the attorneys on the ground about some of that status and the danger to the community, danger to potentially her, Cassie Ventura, the ex-girlfriend, also a community. But he was also just acquitted on those two major counts, those three counts, two different charges, one for sex trafficking and the other for racketeering. So there's also concern about witness tampering and intimidation of different witnesses. And as the verdict always come in, that point is somewhat not important, not relevant anymore. So we're watching this here on Live Now from Fox. Let's take you back out to our Fox 5 team as they continue to discuss the story.
I think Lisa summed it up pretty well in what she was talking about. What I was told to describe is how things are out here. There's an immediate sense of elation or celebration out here once that verdict was read. This has been a very pro-friendly, pro-Sean Combs crowd during this entire trial, really, and even during the last 10 days when we've had some of the hottest days on record for the year so far. Let's have a listen in on what it sounded like outside the courthouse when Sean Diddy Combs' mother emerged after the verdict was rendered.
Did we break the story?
We saw her blowing kisses to people and other people cheering them on. Now, not only has she been coming to court, as Lisa had just said, but his family, his sons have been coming. A short time separate from that, we saw out of the back entrance of this federal courthouse, the federal the jurors. Hey, you know what? Tell me what it is that's going on right now, guys. Who's yelling at me? Well, this is breaking news right now. Let's come back on camera for this, and let's bring in Lisa Evers here. We're learning right now, Lisa, that apparently bond has been denied.
Okay, that's
well, I don't know if that's getting it. Let's use this one.
Let's get Jeremy here.
Yeah, Jeremy, can you come back in here when you get a moment? So what we had been positioned for was an argument that because the jury found Sean Diddy Combs guilty only on the lesser of the charges, that there's a presumption that he might be able to go home. The judge even asked him at one point, I imagine you don't want to go back to MDC. He nodded vigorously. Right? Let's use this microphone. I'm not sure if that one works. And Jeremy, if you'll come in here too. Should we start with Jeremy's reaction?
Jeremy Sallin is with us. He's a criminal defense attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor. And the bail, the news is that bail has been denied.
Yeah, that the judge.
So there is the law, the statute says in substance that bail would be denied, meaning that he goes in and stays in. There's not an exception. For example, there could be an exception where the prosecution says we consent, and there's other pieces to it as well. There could be a danger to somebody or not, but the bail being kept as it is not necessarily atypical because of the law, though one would believe the fact that he was not convicted of the top charge, and it's been a reduction, and people do walk free and come back and RROR'd.
Well, keeping the bail as it is means there's no bail.
Right. So he's remanded, he's held without bail. So this doesn't change the potential sentence, obviously, because it's still up to 10 years, but for the immediate gratification purposes of getting out, doing what he needs to do, and fighting this from the outside in terms of preparing for that sentencing, now it's been stripped.
And let me just add, this morning the prosecution was very adamant about wanting to have this extra time to present their argument to the judge, and seemed obviously they were disappointed with the verdict. It was very visible and very obvious, but they wanted to keep him behind bars, and they said, Your Honor, we need several hours to really get this whole argument together for you, and that's pretty stunning.
But again, I think you have to go back to what the law is and what it allows for, and generally speaking, barring some exception, the Bail Reform Act says you're staying, you're not just getting released. He was convicted of a crime. I think people, rightfully so, are disappointed and have questions from the public's perspective when you have such a horrific allegation that is not proven or substantiated beyond a reasonable doubt, and summarily, we're not talking about on the cusp. That's a pretty quick verdict that I think fooled many people, thinking that there might have been a sex trafficking conviction. He's walking scot-free in terms of any allegation of coercion, force, fraud, violence, but he's still in custody.
Okay, so Jeremy, what about? Can we just ask Jeremy, was it a difficult decision for the judge legally?
I think the judge is, no, I think the judge is not finding any exception and following the law, and that's why he's staying there. The hope from the prosecution, though they didn't, the defense, though they didn't raise it specifically in their letter to the court, was that, yes, there may be the Bail Reform Act, and that was what the prosecution relied on, said statutorily, you can't just let him walk. The prosecution was hoping, the defense was hoping that the judge would look past that and say, he's returned, he just shows that he can follow the court order, he's not going to flee, and he's not a danger to anyone specifically or the community at large.
And then let me ask you this, in terms of the appealing this decision, what's the process now that the defense will have to go through in order to appeal the judge's decision of no bail?
I would expect that he's not going anywhere anytime soon, appeal or not. I think that they're going to follow the judge. I haven't heard what the judge said, so it's hard for me to just speak on an island here, but based on the law as we know it, I think the judge has ample ground to stand on and make this decision.
Let me answer that. Our Sharon Crowley has been watching this and telling us right now the judge says that the government was correct that the detention is mandatory for a Mann Act conviction, what you're indicating, and the judge said that the limited exception to mandatory detention was not met. Sean Combs pointed to his duties as a father and a son, which we talked about, but that does not rise to the level of an appropriate exception, according to the judge.
Right, and to my point moments ago, that's what the law is. But we like to think that from the outside looking in, when someone has been charged with such egregious and horrible acts, and a jury of your peers says no so quickly, there should be a means to say you should be free. But there still is a conviction. The Mann Act qualifies. He's in custody. Whether that's a sign of the judge saying I'm going to harshly sentence him or not, we can't say. But let's not read into it. The judge is simply following the law, and this warrant does not warrant that 10 years that you're hearing about for each of the counts for Jane
and then Jeremy.
So from what I'm reading right here too, is saying, okay, the bail's denied that Sean Diddy Combs, SDN, the judge citing the conviction today on transportation of prostitution charges, inner city press. So basically, the bail is denied based off of the conviction of the transportation for prostitution. That's it. Not because they're holding on to him basically because of that guilty verdict, not because he was the other two. They don't care. Focused is mainly on that one. He's not getting bail. Even if the defendant was solely required to show that he is not a danger to the community, he could not meet that burden. So basically, they're saying even if it was if the only thing that Diddy had to show to the court to get released from bail was that he was not a danger to the community, he was unable to do that. He could not prove that he was not a danger to the community. And so that's one thing. So if Diddy could show he was not a danger to the community, then he could be released. That's what they're trying to say. But he couldn't show that, which we'll talk about a little bit. But with that said, Along with that, prior to the trial, the court already had said that they were going to deny bail and sees no reason to reverse that now. The defense conceded the defendant's violence. The defense conceded to the defendant's violence, meaning that the defense also conceded to the fact that the defendant is violent. So he could not prove that he was a danger, that he was not a danger to the community. Number one, he couldn't prove that. And number two, the defense even conceded that they could not prove that. They are admitting that he is a danger to the community, along with the fact that the court is already denied bail prior to this. So those are two reasonings why the bail is denied. His violence is depicted in if you want to know why it's violence, his violence was depicted in the video of Cassie Ventura. The defense admitted this was a terrible moment. Domestic violence is the issue, and it is what she said. It wasn't only that. There was the London hotel incident. So that is mainly why they would not let him go, because he is a danger to the community for the fact that he put his hands on her. There was violence after the searches in this case. As to Jane, there was June 2024. After the searches of Combs' residence, there was evidence of disregard for the law and propensity for violence. I don't know if I can say that word. Yep. The court takes no position on what we'll consider at sentencing, nor what sentencing will impose. But here, the burden is on him, and he cannot carry it. The defense argues the guideline starts at 21 months. The U.S. says 51 months. He done 10 months. Wait, the court has no position on what it will consider at sentencing, nor what sentence it will impose. But here the burden is on him, and he cannot carry it. The defense argues the guideline starts at 21 months. The U.S. says 51 months. He's done 10 months. So I'm guessing they're talking about the time of that crime. So 21 months is 1.75, so almost 2 years. Is that I'm guessing that's the minimum for this. The defense argues the guideline. I guess they're saying the defense wants them to do 21 months for that. But the U.S., the prosecution, says 51 months. I'm guessing they're saying they want them to do 4.5. We could be wrong here. I could be talking on my ass, but it seems like, because they're saying that the court will take no position on what they will consider sentencing nor what they will impose. They're saying that right now that's for sentencing, not for now. But the burden is on him, and he cannot carry it. The defense argues a guideline starts at 21 months. The U.S. says 51 months. He's done 10 months, meaning he's been in jail for 10 months. The defense wants 21, but the U.S. says 51. Starting, so at least 4.20. Is that what we're getting with, chat?
Guidelines for the Mann Act, as the decision came after the jury convicted Combs of
all these motherfuckers here just want to see Diddy.
Prostitution-related offenses, but acquitted him on the more serious sex trafficking and racketeering charges. The Grammy-winning music mogul carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison, but juries cleared him on charges that could have put him.
They're saying that he didn't show it, meaning the defendant was solely required to show that he is not a danger to the community. He could not meet that burden, meaning that meaning that it's not. So the first thing is that the court already has stated they denied bail for him. So that was already down. They would have to reverse that. But even if that was not the case and it was solely based upon him being a danger to the community, he's unable to prove that he is not a danger to the community, because he has already shown he's a danger to the community based upon the video of Cassie, as well as June 2024 and London hotel incident. So that's what they're saying. Okay, here we go. They just said it. I set sentencing for Friday, October 3rd at 10 a.m. I'm willing to expedite it. Combs, we would like to expedite. We will need an expedite pre-sentencing report from probation, but I will but I will be available anytime. So they're trying to expedite that real quick. All right. They might as well, you know, why wait? So they want to expedite it. There's a great divide on the sentencing guideline. I see that Miss Comney has her statute book open, commenting the rule required to the preparation of a report absent a reasoned waiver. Probation may be able to expedite. Update me on July 8th at noon.
For prostitution, him on sex trafficking and racketeering.
So it seems like
the mixed outcome, the judge did rule that Diddy
seems like they want. So it seems like basically they want to. The defense wants almost 2 years, and the prosecution wants at least four and a quarter.
Deny bail for Diddy.
Well, Bianca, Natasha, first of all, this, I'm sure, was a tremendous disappointment to his mother and to his children and to his other family, and as well as to the supporters that we've seen out here outside of the courthouse. But in terms of the legality of it, according to Attorney Jeremy Sallin, who we've been speaking with this hour, he said that this is fairly standard in terms of a conviction on these prostitution transportation charges, which are the 2 counts that Diddy was found guilty of. Now, what the big argument and the big push to keep him behind bars obviously came from the prosecutors. I'm sure it seemed that they were very upset about the verdict from the jury not getting that RICO case that they had pushed so hard for against the better advice of some in the legal community who didn't think that was appropriate in this particular circumstance. They also lost out on the sex trafficking. That was not guilty. And they said at this morning, the prosecution said, Your Honor, we need several hours to come back and consider bail. Otherwise, they would have just considered the bail, the bail application and the bail situation right there shortly after the verdict was read. That was not the case. They were granted all these extra hours, the extra afternoon. Sean Diddy Combs sitting in a holding cell all the while this afternoon while they're crafting these letters to the judge to explain their positions. And the defense was arguing his mother, who we've seen many times here on Fox 5 going in and out of court every single day to support her son. She's 85 years old. The argument of the defense was that he's her primary caregiver, and certainly he is the closest relative to her, and that he also has a 3-year-old baby daughter, baby Love Sean Combs, and that's her name. And so that was their argument, but the prosecution he still remains a danger. They wanted him behind bars until the sentencing, and this was, I'm sure, was devastating to Combs and many of the family who seemed elated. They were elated, in fact, when they heard those not guilty verdicts, but it's one more step. And as we've seen with Combs in other situations, once he's determined, he's going to see it through. The worst is over in one sense, in that he is no longer looking at life behind bars. On the other hand, his attorneys will have to file an appeal to this denial of bail. And remember, they had several bail applications throughout the course of the pre-trial conferences and after his arrest that were completely denied. And those were just eye-popping bail packages. $50 million, 24-hour armed guards, an Upper East Side apartment where there was limited access, no internet access for him, monitoring, cameras monitoring his activities, no guests allowed coming in, and that was denied. So we'll see what happens now, but this has to be a devastating blow for the family. The family's been very united and come together at this. We saw the 2 sprinters that have taken most of the family after 1 o'clock this afternoon, or a little bit earlier, a little bit after that, excuse me, after we found out that the hearing would be at 5 o'clock. They all went out together to have lunch or to have something to eat, if in fact they could do that. I'm sure many of them thinking, okay, you know what, Dad's coming home, my son's coming home, that type of thing, and he will not have to spend another night in the MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, which is a place nobody wants to go. And so that's what it is. It's just a devastating blow for them. They went from this high this morning of realizing that there's just those 2 counts of the prostitution transportation that they're facing, and that that can be dealt with over time. That's a far cry
shy, Bianca and Natasha, from looking at the possibility of life behind bars, which would have been with the RICO case and many decades on the
My bad, chat. Let me see something. So yeah. Yeah, this is all crazy, man. This is all crazy. Oh. See something. Yo, what's good, bro?
Taking place and where this bail hearing just happened, that will be closed for an administrative closure. There will be no activity there, no scheduled activity there. Friday, the courthouse is federal holiday closed. It's always closed on Saturdays and Sundays. So there was obviously a pressure to get this decision in before the holiday weekend, and I'm sure there's a lot of disappointment all the way around that they just couldn't bring him home tonight. Natasha and Bianca?
Yeah, Lisa, you mentioned that.
All right, just listening in there to our Fox 5 team as they're diving into it. And this was the live picture. This is the live picture outside of the courthouse. As you can see, maybe people starting to leave as they will not get a glimpse of Diddy today as the verdict coming down, bail decision as it's denied, and then the sentencing still somewhat up in the air. They have kind of pitched the date of October the 3rd, but they'll finalize that in the next week or so at another hearing. All right, let's bring into the conversation right now for more on this, because it's been a whirlwind 24 hours, a whirlwind really 2 months for this entire high-profile case. Michael Babcock, TMZ executive producer. There's a lot to get to today. The bail was just denied. They said that he was potentially a risk to the community. What do we make of this decision, Michael?
Everything that's happened in this case, especially the last 2 days, has been surprising to me, Andy. I would have said certainly yesterday, after the quick verdicts comes back, that we were likely looking at guilty, more than 2 guilty verdicts here. I would have thought that the more serious charges likely would have been guilty. Obviously, that's not what happened. I think after that happened, Andy, there was a thought that because these were, at the end of the day, not violent crimes. We know he was violent. We've seen that. But that
all right. Well, yo, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this thing off, man. I appreciate y'all. We're going to, some things are popping up real quick. A lot of stuff is going on right now. But we did cover both things. I appreciate y'all. I will be back more than likely tomorrow. I got a lot of filming I got to do as well. I appreciate y'all coming through as always. And I love y'all, and I appreciate y'all. And yeah, I'm gonna see you on the next one. All right, y'all. I gotta pill out. Peace.
And ultimately, it's what the judge rejected, because he said, look, there have been many instances throughout this trial